In this video, I'm going to show you how to use ChatGPT's Deep Research feature from OpenAI to 5x your investment due diligence process in terms of how long it takes you and how comprehensive you can do preliminary research. So if you are a PE fund, a hedge fund, VC, manager consulting, if you have to do any due diligence that involves market research, I'm going to show you how to turn days of work and research into under 30 minutes. What is available now with Deep Research is unbelievable. And for context, for any of you guys who don't know me, I'm James Nguyen. I'm the CEO and founder of Inflection Teams. We have been in the investment due diligence space since 2019, building AI workflows and human in the loop systems. So whether that is human perfect transcripts, pulling insights from expert calls, finding qualitative data sets. So our clients include some of the biggest expert networks in the world, as well as unicorns in the finance space and tech space. In this video, I'm going to go right ahead and I'm going to explain to you what Deep Research is if you're not familiar with it. I'm going to show you exactly how to use it, how to prompt the best hacks of how to use Deep Research. Then I'm also going to explain the limitations because it's not perfect yet. It still hallucinates. You can't use it without a human in the loop. So I'm going to show you those limitations. Then lastly, I'm going to do a really quick comparison with some of the other players in the space like Perplexity and Gemini, and why right now I'm advising my clients and my customers to be using ChatGPT the most. So without further ado, let's get into it. February 2nd is when Deep Research got released. This is Deep Research. You're going to ask it a question. You can see here, if we go just back to the start, you're going to go quickly ask it a question I'm going to show you in a second, and then it's going to create a comprehensive report by searching the internet using the latest model from OpenAI, which is their smartest intelligence model. You hear agents a lot. Here's a quick demo here. An agent essentially is an AI workflow or a program that is working autonomously, has i.e. agency, can go ahead and do something in the background. And is being able to complete a task. So let's have a look in this specific release. So I want to bring your attention to this. Powered by a version of the upcoming OpenAI o3 model that's optimized for web browsing and data analysis. It leverages reasoning to search, interpret, and analyze massive amounts of text, images, and PDFs on the internet, pivoting as needed in reaction to information it encounters. What you need to know is Deep Research is using a model that hasn't even been released. So if you're using it before o3 has been released, you're getting a sneak peek. If you're using it when o3 is being released, well, you're using the best model available on the market right now, is better than any other current model, closed or open. So a little bit about the o3 model is it's a reasoning model. So what that means is it spends time thinking through its answer before giving you an answer, being able to actually consider, be thoughtful, reflexively ask critical thinking questions about, okay, is this the right approach? Is this an assertion? Is this an assumption? Can it be validated? That's essentially what o3 is doing. And when you connect it to the internet, because it's able to web browse, so it has a much larger knowledge set, right? So a lot of the other large language models have a cutoff date of a knowledge set, right? But if it is essentially being able to browse the internet, it's analogized very similar to an investment analyst being able to go out and browse the internet. It's able to do it just a hell of a lot faster and perhaps even with a higher level of intelligence than some investment analysts are able to do. So it's able to search, interpret, and analyze massive amounts of text, images, and PDFs. You think about qualitative due diligence, you might say, okay, well, big reams of text, the big corpuses of text could be press releases, earnings call transcripts, the PDFs you might be thinking about. What about the pitch decks? What about the reports that are available on the internet? All of this is able to consume all of it at once. But the main thing here is that o3 will actually think through what to do next. It's going to go ahead and say, okay, having read this article, having read this PDF, having studied this transcript, based on the ideas in this piece of content, it's going to inform the next decision it makes about what to go and search, what to then consume, and then what to pull out of that based on its end objective. I just want to quickly scroll down here and show you a benchmarking table. It's very easy for a lot of these benchmarks to be put out as marketing tactics and cherry pick, the best models to compare it against. But this is a fairly representative of, as of right now, mid-February, a fairly representative idea of where it ranks compared to these multiple choice questions. Okay, so the humanities last exam is 3,000 multiple choice questions based on expert level questions. So it could be on chemistry, humanities, social sciences, mathematics, as you can see here, linguistics, rocket science. It's a breadth of different subjects. And the reason why breadth is important is because, again, it's a proxy essentially to understand the overall intelligence of o3. Having a model, quote unquote, AI analyst, understand all of these different concepts and being able to search the internet, then reason with it and understand it is outperforming everything else available right now is a really strong thing to consider. So we see here DeepSeek R1, which took the world by storm. That's scoring a 9.4. OpenAI's Deep Research is 26.6. You can see compared to 4.0 here, Claude Sonnet's here. O1 was its previous model. It's outperforming it, close to 3x better. So that's a considerable improvement. So that's a little bit about the actual model. For those of you who are not familiar, let's get straight into this. When we are looking at ChatGPT, the first thing to understand is you have to be a ChatGPT Pro subscriber. That's 200 USD a month. And given the scope of what it's able to do in the context of due diligence and the amount of time it can save you, it really is a no-brainer. So you're going to go here. You can really choose any model. The reason why I personally choose O1 Pro, there's a number of things. O1 models now allow files to be uploaded. But the reason I choose O1 Pro is because the follow-up questions I'm going to ask based on what comes out in the research, I would like to use, the most intelligent model that is not O3. So I've just found O1 Pro, given I'm paying for the Pro account, is the best. So anybody who's used a large language model so far understands that this is challenge number one, what to actually prompt here. I've gone ahead and created a prompt generator, which is essentially a project in ChatGPT. I've given it specific instructions and it knows exactly the sorts of things I want to prompt it. So for the sake of this example, let's just choose an industry. I'm going to choose the outsourcing BPO industry, and I'm going to do a deep research report based on that. So if we just say, write me a prompt for deep research that will give me a comprehensive overview of the BPO outsourcing industry. Right, and then I would go ahead and click submit. And this is obviously a very rudimentary prompt, but there's a lot of meta prompting involved here that's going to create a really good prompt. So I'm going to go ahead and use something I have already prepared, something I prepared earlier, and go ahead and use it here. So I'm going to copy and paste this here. You are a senior investment analyst. You can see here, do a deep research on the outsourcing BPO industry, etc. You can see it's a very long prompt. That is the purpose of a meta prompt. And I'm going to go ahead and click start. You can see the first thing that Deep Research does when you submit your prompt is it's going to ask follow-up questions. Again, this is an iteration from how you would normally use a large language model. The difference here is it's trying to contextualize exactly what you want. In the same way, if it was an analyst working for you, that analyst would ask, okay, what format do you want the report in? They would ask follow-up questions. It wouldn't just be, here's what you do, if it was unclear. So this shows a level of nuance and a level of diligence from, quote unquote, the deep research agent. Okay, so let's have a look. Should the analysis be global, or do you want to focus on specific areas? Let's say global. Second one, should the research focus on the entire BPO industry or one specific segment? Let's say I wanted to understand the overall BPO industry, and then I would give it additional details. I want to understand the split of the most profitable segment / vertical in the BPO industry. Third one, investment perspective. Are you looking at this from a general market intelligence perspective or specific investment goals? Let's say I have specific investment goals. Yes, I'm looking to invest in a company in the BPO industry. So number 4, would you like a detailed breakdown of publicly traded companies, private firms, or a mixture of both? I'll say mix of both. 5, are you interested in historical trends or future projections, current market conditions or future projections? Please focus on current market conditions and future projections. So I'm going to hit go. Now this could take it says up to 30 minutes. My experience has been it takes about 15 minutes or so, depending on how complex it's actually going to be in terms of its research. But again, if you're comparing 10 to 15 minutes, it might seem long relative to other large language models when you're getting almost instantaneous feedback. But 10 to 15 minutes when you're about to see the quality and depth and nuance that it's going to go into compared to multiple days of work, it's a significant time saver. So you can see here it's saying starting research. If you open it up on the side, it's going to go ahead and show you what it's thinking through. So you can see here, it's starting to research. So number 1, it's anthropomorphizing itself, right? Saying I'm outlining the key sections. But number 2, it's showing you its exact thinking process. So imagine it was an investment analyst and it was showing you the chain of thought. So that person was explaining exactly how they were going through and doing the research. Say it's exploring private equity trends, it's searching for BPO industry definition, it's going and reading this article. So if we wanted to go through and see, well, what is it reading? So it's chosen to read an article from Tech Target. You wouldn't generally, fact check it all the way through, but it's just interesting to see it go through, right? It's looking at BPO profitability at iBiz. So a couple of things here, you can see I'm clicking on the links directly. It's just taking me to the homepage, right? So it's not taking me to that direct article yet. As you'll see later, it will do something akin to that. It's now reading this, analyzing KBV's market size and segment breakdown with the notable. So it's answering the question we asked it relating to break it down. 27.9% share of customer service. It's going through here based on what it finds. It says, okay, let's break down the key BPO segments like IT outsourcing. Is finding the other one. You can see it's really going through and being really, really thoughtful with this. So we're going to come back when it's finished, because this could take anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes based on how comprehensive it's going to be. And then I'm going to show you a key walkthrough of each of these things. So it is now done. So you can see all of its chain of thought here. So let's have a quick read through. First things first, you can see by the side of my screen, this is a long report. There's a lot of detail here. It looked at 25 sources, thought for 8 minutes. Again, this is a significant multiplier on turnaround time, on preliminary research. Let's have a look just to give you a scope of what's here. So it refers to the practice of contracting. Yeah, there's a definition of BPOs. It's going through the core service verticals, as we discussed. There's contact centers, there's IT outsourcing, there's finance and accounting, knowledge process outsourcing as well. High value outsourcing of knowledge intensive tasks include legal process outsourcing when there's a level of specialization, medical transcription. You can start to see there's a lot more involved here. Then it looks at market sizing. So it gives you an idea here. It's referencing everything throughout. You can see it's extremely detailed, right? Historical growth. It's going through the current size and the CAGR. It's breaking down service lines, as we mentioned. We asked it to go ahead and give a general idea and percentage. You can see this is not just a general ChatGPT output. This is a very nuanced, thoughtful response. If you compare this to any of the other LLMs out there that connect it to the internet, you can just see here, most of the output in all the other LLMs would be limited by token limits. This is a thoughtful report. Like you can see here, this would be pages and pages and pages of what's actually here. Then it's looking at profitability and key segments, right? So net profit margins for call centers have declined. They used to be 18 to 20. Now they're sitting around 13 to 14. The next thing, if you are considering this in your due diligence process, would be to check the validity of the sources. So it allows you to go ahead and click through and check this, right? And so let's just have a quick spot check here. 18 to 20%. Let's look at that. 18. Let's see. There we go. The profit margin for call centers in India has dropped from 18 to 20% to 13, 14. So there's a really few key things here. There's still a level of fact checking. So if we click on a couple of other things, this is FlowAce. If we go here and we say, okay, we're looking at high margins in specialized services, 12% in call center services. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Okay, so it's then reading through reports. Here we go, 12.4. That's an operating margin. Great. So you can start to see that a lot of these things are true to the source. However, this is extremely important as we go through these things. There's two things that I really want to outline to you, right? So I've opened a couple of different resources. They look fairly reputable as sources. However, the big caveat is it is only able to create this report based on what is online. Really, you have to just go back in the almost like the chain of evidence, because you have to understand, well, who has fact checked these blogs? Because if these blogs aren't accurate, how do we know, therefore, that this is accurate? And so it is looking for certain things, but is this the absolutely most comprehensive thing compared to a lot of the other LLM outputs? You would consider it being significantly more comprehensive. However, there isn't yet a check and balance to verify whether there are any false negatives, i.e., have there been companies that have been omitted from this report that if you're doing preliminary research, you would want to know should be included? There's no way for it to understand that, right? Completeness is a consideration for you. But the other thing, as I was mentioning before, is it's trained on only things that are online. So if we are not fact checking the actual things online, we have to assume and accept the premise that what is online is factual. And we know for a fact that statement isn't true, right? Everything you read online is not the truth, despite what some people may think. So You have to understand the sources, the comprehensiveness of the sources. And so if there are just people who are posting blogs that are potentially, fabricating the information in those blogs, then the validity and credibility of this report may be compromised because it's only using what is available online. Your brain should obviously be thinking, well, what if I have proprietary resources? And I'll go through that at a later stage. But yes, that is the key thing here. In the investment due diligence workflow, what you need to understand is obviously there's public data, but also the private data, proprietary research, right? Your proprietary primary research. And so whether that is expert calls, right? But again, expert calls with bad transcripts can't be used here. Expert calls with need very, very accurate transcripts because that becomes the single source of truth with which O3 as a model will be able to refer to. So that's consideration number one. You have to actually check the quality of the actual sources is going after. Now, there's a lot in the back end where it's qualifying things out, but this is a consideration to take note of. As we go through, you can see this is extremely comprehensive. The amount of research that it was able to do in just 8 minutes is fantastic. But the accuracy of it is what you still need to check. And that's where the human in the loop comes in. So I'm going to go back to OpenAI's blog post and then show you one very specific quote. So if we scroll down and we look at this, it says limitations. It can sometimes hallucinate facts in responses or make incorrect inferences, i.e. it can read an article and draw the wrong conclusion from it, or make up facts that were not in the article. That's why I just very briefly showed you before a quick spot check. This is very important. It may struggle with distinguishing authoritative information from rumors, i.e. if somebody put up a blog on Medium and was speaking with high conviction, they would seem as if they were being very authoritative. But we don't know whether that is a rumor, whether that is made up, whether that is conjecture. So it shows weakness in confidence calibration, often failing to convey uncertainty accurately, i.e. it's still speaking with a lot of conviction. And we see this with a lot of AI models, right? It says this is fact without articulating the nuance of maybe I've got it from this source, but I don't know XYZ aspects of this. That's a really key thing to look at, right? So it is still hallucinating and it still doesn't know what is, when it's reading a source, whether that is a rumor or whether that is an authoritative resource. So that's something really, really key to consider. But if we go ahead, you can see how long this is. You can see the references at the very bottom, right? And so this is a pretty good start. You can see here, it's reading through everything online. And this is where the real kicker comes in. There are players out there right now that are looking at this. Something like a Hebia is looking at huge repositories of unstructured data, whether it is, in reports, in meetings, in investment notes, whatever it might be, going ahead and using all of that unstructured qualitative data and then synthesizing that to draw signals for investment firms. I'm here to just show you what is available for $200 a month, essentially getting a junior analyst or being able to get 80% of what a junior analyst can do. So as these models progress, this is based on O3. So this is taking a lot of information, but reasoning is the key thing. Reasoning with the O3 language model. The natural progression of this is if you had proprietary data, whether this is expert call transcripts, whether it is internal meetings, whether it is meetings with potential investment targets, these meetings could then form the basis for proprietary internal data sets, right? A knowledge base. So instead of getting O3 to reason based on these public pieces of information, you can see the arrow of progress is pointing towards being able to reason on an internal database, right? Internal knowledge base. Investing in having really high quality data now, i.e. accurate transcripts as a simple example, is extremely important because that's where human in the loop comes in, right? Garbage in, garbage out. I'm not saying any of these individual blog posts are garbage, but for the purpose of what you are looking for, are they fact checked? And then secondary to that, let's assume that they are in fact accurate, these sources. Now, this actual report, is this fact checked? Right? Has this been corroborated in its accuracy with the actual original sources? And so this is where a human in the loop comes in. But instead of an investment analyst now having to go through and understand all the different places to even start to begin their research, they can start from this place, right? Is this giving a high level macro that is more comprehensive than anything else they could do in 8 minutes? My assertion is absolutely. And, this is where we really start to think about, what is the role of human in the loop? Can AI take you 80% of the way there, 90% of the way there? But the last mile, the last 10%, number one, is the role of humans. But number two, which humans should be doing that, right? That's that in terms of deep research. That is a high level of how to use it for a general question. If you're going through and understanding, how to prompt, you can see here the ways that the detail this prompt actually contains. Well, you can iterate this. This is giving a macro step-by-step approach to the general market sizing, growth potential, profitability, etc. Say you wanted to just drill down, right? Drill down and understand just something specific to the market. Let's talk about the profitability, right? So hypothetically, you just wanted the profitability. There's a few things you could do. You could then restart and do an entirely new deep research that is only focused on the profitability of the BPO service industry, sorry. And what you would be able to find is you would get a detailed report to this level of granularity only specific to profitability, right? So this is really the starting point of where this preliminary research should begin. The second thing you could do is you could go ahead and just use O1 Pro without using deep research. Now, deep research as at the time of release is limited to 100 requests or searches per month, right? So divided by 30 days, if you're going to be using it over the weekend as well, give or take, you could be doing 3 searches a day. So you should be really considerate of that, but ultimately, you could be, just purchasing multiple subscriptions. Where I really like using O1 here is I might say, and this is a very rudimentary prompt in and of itself, but can you please summarize the key ideas from the report above and elaborate on them in detail, specific to the profitability of the BPO industry, and elaborate on them in detail. So I said before, the reason I like using O1 Pro is because I find it to be the best model when I'm actually asking ChatGPT to do something. So it's not using deep research. It's not connected to the internet. It's going through and using this report as context. Now it's finished. You can see here, right, based on this report, say I wanted to double click specifically based on profitability. Now it's going to create a summary of everything related to profitability for the BPO industry. So whether this is you putting it in your pitch deck, your report, your slides, your pack, this is giving you a summary of what is based on above, right? So this is not researching again, i.e. not using more of your credits. It goes ahead, summarizes all these things, and as I asked for before, puts it in a table structure. So suddenly you can see how deep research is the starting point. You can go ahead and actually use it to create a number of other things as well, right? And this is how I personally like to do it, right? So say I'm going to ask another question. I'm not going to go ahead and ask it down here because I want to go back up here and I want to actually edit the prompt. I personally like to do that. Say you've organized a number of calls with experts, right? Instead of going to that call completely blank, canvas, completely raw, without any idea about the industry, you might now be able to formulate more insightful and thoughtful questions based on this deep research. So let's say I'm now speaking to an expert about the BPO industry as part of my due diligence. Please create 10 very thoughtful and insightful questions. So you can actually use your deep research now as the basis to go ahead and create questions for your expert call. You could create, pitch deck slides. You could create whatever you want. The main thing here is to be considerate of the accuracy of this original data. You can see here there are 10 questions here. So obviously if you give more context about the expert you're speaking to, this can be more thoughtful. So that's how you would use, at a very high level, you would use deep research in your investment due diligence process and workflow. And again, this is just scratching the surface. I want to show you a quick comparison before we jump off related to the other things in the market. So I'm going to use the exact same prompt to give you a like for like. The main comparisons here is, there's different models, base models. In Perplexity, you can see here it's the exact same prompt. The way to do it is you would go through and you just select deep research. It's very similar, but you can see here, this is the extent of the report. So it's a lot more shallow. I haven't fact checked the exact assertions here or the content of it, but just based on pure detail and comprehensiveness, it's extremely different, right? It is talking about subscription models here, 10,000 to 50,000. Let's see if we can find this. I can't even find the numbers related to 10,000 to 50,000. So this is being cited, but is it a straight up hallucination? Well, from this very, very light spot check, it looks like it is. That is Perplexity. And then we're going to show deep research with the exact same prompt at the start. You see here, expand it, is the exact same prompt I used before. Deep research on Gemini is more comprehensive than Perplexity, but it is not as detailed as ChatGPT. Let's just compare like for like, right? So here's the market size and growth trends for Gemini, market sizing and growth trends for ChatGPT Deep Research. If we just do a straight side by side, the comprehensiveness of this is night and day. It is significantly significantly different, right? You can see here, this is their whole TAM, probably like 3 dot points here, or 3 little sections. That compared to this. You can see here ChatGPT, as of right now, is clearly more comprehensive. So that's it. If you're interested to understand what we do, head to inflection.ai. That's inflection with an X.ai. Otherwise, there are going to be links in the description so you can understand exactly how we can help you learn more about AI, learn more about the tools that are available to you. Until next time, I'll be here for another video to break down exactly how AI is going to be impacting your industry, specifically around the investment due diligence space. All right, I'll see you soon.